Welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls. Over the last few years, I have built a business that allowed me to quit my 9-to-5, spend more time with the ones that I love, and live my best life. Now, I'm sharing everything I learned along the way with you. Each week, my guest and I will share actionable tips, tangible advice, and honest conversations to help you build your dream business. So get ready to take notes and put in the work because this girl means business. Hey there, and welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. This is episode 21, which means this sweet little podcast is officially an adult and able to drink. So it means it's time to party. And for today's episode, we are definitely going to party because I have something really special planned for y'all. This week, you are going to get to listen in as I work with one of my mentoring clients. Summer is a photographer that I have worked with in the past. We had a one-on-one in-person mentoring session a while back, and now she's coming back for round 2, where we're diving even deeper into her business. Now, typically when I meet with my mentoring clients, the first time we meet is about a 2-hour session because it takes that long to really get into the basics of building your business. Before each mentoring session, I go in and learn all about the business. I check out the Facebook pages, the social media, your website. I learn all about your goals and your hopes and dreams for your business. And then I create an action plan just for each client. So when Summer and I first met, we were talking about the fact that she was getting back into the swing of her business after having her son. So we talked a lot about rebranding and building up her new business and her new clientele, deciding what she wanted to specialize in, and getting a foundation for her marketing system. So in today's episode, you're going to hear us talk a lot more in detail about the next steps for her business. So for those of you that have started your business and feel like you have had a little bit of momentum, but maybe you have plateaued, you've hit just dry spell, you've hit a wall, this is going to be an amazing episode for you because it's going to have tons and tons of information of ways that you can move your business forward to the next step. This interview is a little bit long, so we're going to go ahead and dive right in because there's tons of really great information I can't wait to get to. All right, guys, here is my mentoring session with Summer. Hi, Summer. How are you?
Hey, doing pretty good. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'm excited to do this with you. So you and I have worked together before. You had done a mentor session with me where we went over some of the basics of your business. I know you're kind of getting back into the swing of things after having your little one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's crazy.
So in our first session, we talked about just getting your kind of basics down, getting back into the swing of things, how to start marketing your business and things like that. So today we're going to talk a little more about kind of the next steps in your business, where you're at now, and how we can move you forward. So to start with, introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Great. So my name's Summer, and I have a photography business that I would say I started about 5 years ago. Just picking up a camera that my parents gave me for a gift and started shooting some portraits because I worked with some teenagers for my regular job. And so just took pictures of them for fun and didn't charge anything. But then I thought, hey, I'm actually decent at this. I wonder if I could do this for real. And so step by step, I started, getting a little bit better, took a class and, started my business. And it was really slow to start. And it's kind of had been slow ever since. And there are a few personal life setbacks that kind of caused me to put my business on the back burner. And so really this year is when I've kind of started jumping back in, like, I really want to go hard at this. And so that's when I met with you, Kendra, and now we're back and I want to continue taking my next steps.
Awesome. So, and I think your story is very similar to a lot of people. I think that, I want people listening to understand that most businesses aren't overnight, that there's always going to be, especially when you're doing everything on your own. And so when life does get in the way, there's going to be times when you have to kind of take a step back and you have to reevaluate or slow yourself down. And, for me, it's been having my little one at home. It's still really hard for me to get a full 40-hour weekend when I'm trying to also be a mom, which I know you're dealing with as well. So, and just, in pure transparency, here it is, it's 8:00 at night and we're doing this interview because we both have children we have to contend with. So it's just part of how it all works. So I get it. And I think that that's not an uncommon story and situation that you're in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So the first time we met, like I said, we talked about kind of getting your business started back up again. We talked a little bit about how to get your name out into your community and what you want to focus on. Real quick, what is it that you're focusing on as far as what type of photography?
So portraits, mainly seniors. I will accept some other work, a couple engagements here and there, women, various things, but I market to seniors. That is my target audience. I just enjoy them and I feel like that is what I'm best at. And so that's really my focus.
Right. Okay. And just so that anyone listening understands too, like the topics we're talking about today will be specific to your business, but that it can be applied to other things as well. So if there's other photographers listening that don't do seniors, but that are maybe newborn photographers or wedding photographers or just family portrait photographers, a lot of it they can adapt and do themselves, or even if they have a different business that's not necessarily photography, the basics of it all kind of go together. So, okay. So this is going to be interesting for me because it's kind of flipped from what I typically do on this podcast, because normally I'm the one asking the questions, but today you get to ask me the questions. So let's go ahead and jump in. So what's your first question for me?
So my first question is, this is kind of a big one. So we had mentioned in our last meeting that I kind of wanted to change my business name. Well, I've decided to do so. So I'm in the process of getting all those things switched over. Haven't bought a new domain name or anything like that yet, but I'm getting there. And so I'm switching from Wonderment Photography to Summer Michelle Photography so I can have my name involved in it. And so I'm getting a new logo made, new website, all that stuff. And so, which is exciting and terrifying because now I'm having to relaunch, and that's a pretty big deal if, I want to do it well. And
right.
So I don't want to just slowly, start telling people, hey, I'm, now I'm Summer Michelle Photography and kind of doing the same thing. Like I want to really do this and put myself out there. And so my question for you would be, once I get all the practical stuff taken care of, all the legal stuff with the name change and all that, what are the most important things I need to do to launch well?
I love that you want to do it and not do it gradually. You want to just jump right in and make it like a, hey, wow kind of thing. So I would say the first thing I would suggest for you is to treat it as if this was you starting from day one. So don't treat it as I'm rebranding, treat it as I'm starting a new business, because it essentially kind of is your new name, new website, new everything. So I would say make a big deal of it in every aspect. You can have a kind of a virtual grand opening on your social media pages and, kind of build up some anticipation about the new website coming, and build up some anticipation about, maybe have some kind of new launch special offers, and especially if you're wanting to target seniors, especially right now with school starting back and you're getting, this new group of seniors coming in, this is a good time to go into your community and, make a big deal of it. Make up little cards and flyers and go into local businesses and say, hey, I'm launching my new brand. I'm going to be focusing on senior sessions, on the senior experience. I would love to see if you could hand these out to your clients or go check with the local schools. Obviously online is a big thing. Just make a big hoopla. If you think about the latest grand opening thing you've seen, even go on to Facebook or Instagram and do hashtag grand opening and see what comes up, and just kind of find people that have recently launched a business and see what they've done to create hype. And this could be like Instagram stories, as you're getting your website started up, as you're getting your logo going, kind of posting like behind the scenes stuff of what's going on. If you're looking at different colors for your kind of branding scheme, share those. If you have graphics you can design, head over to Canva and use that to design some really cool graphics and get people excited using your new colors and using your new name or new logo, whatever it is, or even make it kind of like a, hey, I've got something coming. It's going to be a big surprise. Do like a countdown, to, let's say your website launches on September 1st. Then you could do a countdown from now to then on your social media. It's like, hey, we're 12 days away from our big new, big surprise, or 10 days away. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the launch, offer discounts, offer something exciting, offer, something intriguing, like whether it's a discount or a special offer or a mini session. You could do like homecoming sessions, things like that with your seniors. Mm-hmm. I also think doing the countdown idea is a great way to build your email list, which we talked about a little bit in our first session. So you could even have on your social media, you could say, hey, we're 10 days away from our new launch, or we're 10 days away from this big exciting thing. If you want to be the first one to know, if you want to get early access to what we've got going on, then click the link below or whatever and have it be like a sign up form for your email list. So now you're building excitement. You're creating curiosity because people are going to be like, oh, what's going on? What's she doing? And then you're getting them on your email list at the same time. And then once you actually kind of launch, and I think having sort of a set date in mind, instead of just like putting your website out there and changing over your names on social media, like make it like one day. So like I said, I'm just using September 1st because it's easy. But let's say that it's September 1st and that's the day that you let people know about your website. That's the day you share or you change over your social media names. That's the day or you start your new social media, however you're going to do that. And that's the day that everything kind of goes live, even though it may have been live earlier. That's the day that like people know of it, is like, that's the day it's going live. And so I think doing that, if you wanted to really go big, you could even create some kind of event that you host that gets people excited. So even if it was like hey, I'm going to be, I don't know, there's a little ice cream shop in town or something, and you partner with them. You say, hey, I want to have like my launch party here, and you throw like a little event and people can come to it, and you can be giving out prizes or like, you could really go all out if you wanted to, or you could keep it very simple. But if you're wanting to make it something that like really gets people excited about what you're doing, then, get a little bit creative. I think that's a great way to get people to notice you. I think you said before, don't you have a lot of your seniors because you worked, is it through the church or through the school?
I worked at a church, and so in student ministry. And so I do know a lot of teenagers and their parents. And so I know the teenagers on Instagram, know their parents on Facebook. So I've got both of those going for me. And so really, when I think about relaunch, I think about those people specifically and letting those families know, here's what I do, because I think a lot of them have either forgotten, may not have known in the first place, or just kind of need that like reminder, like, oh, Summer does this. And yeah. And so really, when I think about launching and rebranding, those are the people that I want for sure to see it and to know about it, because that's who I trust to give me referrals. That's who I know is going to come to me because they know me.
Yeah.
And so those are the people that I want to focus on. But I like your other ideas of going into businesses and maybe creating an event. It terrifies me to do something like that. Absolutely, because it's not really my style. But I'm slowly learning to step forward into the unknown, into the scary stuff. Because if I don't, this business won't ever go anywhere. So I will consider that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's helpful because I've just been lost really with how to do it effectively.
And I think if your comfort zone is that group, that church group, then you could even do a small event maybe at your church. and, or even just in your home, wherever you feel comfortable. It doesn't have to be this big to do. But if you already have that base of people that you can invite, think about like all the people who do home parties, or I know people that have recently started sort of like an MLM or different things like that. And they kind of have like a grand opening or a launch party. And it's all either in their house, they do it, kind of host a little party there, or they even do it online. And so you could kind of take a play from their playbook and do, like, you can do it online. You'd have to kind of research how that works if you wanted to do it that way, if that's more comfortable to you, as opposed to like actually hosting a party. But I do like the idea that since you already have kind of an in with your community and that network at your church with the moms and the kids, if you could even do something either in your home or at your church or at someone else's house that that would be willing to like kind of host, that maybe someone who likes to throw parties and likes to host events, and then have some kind of incentive for those kids to bring their friends. So maybe you say, hey, for every friend that you bring, you all get to put your name in a drawing for a prize at the end, or have a couple prizes or whatever, raffles. But for every friend that you bring, that you get an extra, name in the raffle drawing or whatever. And so if it's me, I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm going to bring 5 of my friends because why not? It's supposed to be fun. There's going to be, some foods or drinks. We're going to have prizes throughout the night. Maybe you have some kind of fun, like outdoor games they can play or whatever. And then at the end of the night, you have a couple prizes you raffle off. And one of them could be a session with you or a mini session with you or something like that. And then you could maybe do a couple gift cards and things like that to raffle off as well. And then before you do all that, you kind of get to have a little spiel, and you could have like your logo somewhere and have cards for people to take. But anything like that just kind of gets people excited about what you're doing. And if you think about it from the perspective of a senior, and I'm thinking mostly senior girls, because that's usually the ones who are the most interested in these types of sessions. Guys typically do it because their mom wants them to. I'm thinking like senior girls are going to think, oh, well, if I have a choice between the photographer my mom has told me about, or the one who hosted this really fun party that we all went to and got to hang out and listen to music and we got prizes at the end of the night, the kid's going to choose you because you made it fun. And you kind of had, maybe find somebody who does hair and makeup in your area, and you have them come in like for that night that everybody gets like their eye makeup done, or there's like a tutorial, like a girls' night event where they come and the makeup artist teaches them how to do a certain makeup look or something like that. So there's fun things you could do and make it really interesting so that people want to come and they associate your name and your new business name with this exciting event that they attended.
Okay. Yeah. See, whenever I think about it, my mind goes straight to anything online, anything social media, like where my face is not in front of people. I'm not fearful of engaging with people. I am an extrovert, but for whatever reason, I think it's just because the nature of photography too, everything's digital, most of the time. And so I don't think about the in-person type of event thing, even if it's not an event, but just, doing more in person, actually building relationships and talking to people while I'm standing right in front of them, even if it's a stranger.
Right.
Hey, are you, you're wearing an Allen High School t-shirt, like, hey, are you a senior? That kind of thing. Like, that kind of stuff I don't tend to do. But I know that I need to, I need to take that step forward into actually interacting with people on a face-to-face level, not just through Instagram and Facebook and that, because there's just only so far you can go with social media.
Well, and I think too, like social media is getting to the point where I think people, when it first became as big as it is now, like everyone was like, oh, social media, let's do everything online. Let's do everything from behind our computer. And now it's getting to this sort of point in its lifespan where people are wanting more in-person connection because they're realizing that you can only get so far online. You can't make those connections, and that not everything you see online is 100% real. And so if they could meet you in person and if they can have conversations with you, I think those in-person connections make a huge difference when it comes to who they think of when it's time to book a session or hire somebody to do a service, because I can go online and I can research, landscapers, and I only know so much about what they put in front of me. But if I've actually met someone or even met someone who knows someone, like I'm more likely to think of, oh yeah, I ran into so-and-so and her husband does landscaping. So let me give them a call because I feel like I know them. I feel like I can trust them a little bit more. And so it's all goes back to that know, like, and trust factor. If they know who you are, because obviously, especially with that group you were talking about, like your church group, they know you. They probably like you already, but they
think so. As far as I know.
But so you have the know, you have the like part, but now you need to build the trust with your business. And so getting in front of people and just even like, I don't do well in large groups. I'm very much a one-on-one or small group person. And so for me, it's been really big about going and meeting up with people for coffee dates or lunch dates or, going to different events where I can like chit chat with one or two people. And so figuring out a way that works for you. If it's not the hosting the event or hosting the party, then find some other way to make those personal connections. I think that's going to be really huge for what you do. And you have an advantage that you are reaching moms and their children. So you have two avenues to kind of get in with them. You can get in good with the mom who was going to be the one paying for the session. Mm-hmm. And you can get in good with the kid the senior who is going to be the one in front of your camera. And so you kind of have two different angles you can work there. So you can work with getting to know the mom on the mom level and then getting to know the senior on a senior level, whatever that is.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think this kind of segues well into another question I have for you of kind of setting myself apart. So know, like, and trust, definitely important. And so getting to know me. But I feel like this might be true for a lot of different businesses, but especially for photography, it feels like it's so saturated, especially in the DFW area and just probably any major city. It just feels like they're just everywhere and there's so many and there's, and so I know that these seniors have 1,000 different choices. And so I'm trying to determine what is it about me as a person or just how I do business that will set me apart from everybody else. And I'm kind of having a hard time with that. So anything you can speak into that would be helpful, especially during the relaunch time.
Yeah. So, and I agree. I mean, I get the saturation part. I think that a lot of people feel that way in different industries, not just photography, but it does feel like in photography, everybody who has a decent camera is a photographer these days. So it does feel, and then, you're competing on different levels because you're competing for quality, you're competing for price point, you're competing for value and experience. There's all these different things. And so I think the first thing is to figure out with the product and service you're offering, what sets you apart there. So for example, let's say that price point, you need to figure out like where you fall price point wise, and then look at other people in your area who are in that same price point and figure, okay, what are they offering that I can do something differently? Is it going to be offering hair and makeup? Is it going to be offering style, help with their styling or wardrobe selection? Is it going to be offering products that other photographers aren't offering? I know with seniors, a lot of times it's the digital thing, offering them digital products. But I know for me, the seniors that I've worked with, the kids want the digitals, but the parents want the physical products. They want the beautiful canvas or metal art to hang on the wall. They want an album to keep. And so finding something that gets them excited, finding the products and the services that get them interested. So you kind of have to figure out where your business lies in that sense, because it's almost like when you apply for a job and you have your resume and you hand your resume over. That's just one part of what they're looking at when they are looking to hire someone for that job. And so your website, your social media presence, and what you're offering, that's sort of like your resume. That's how you look on paper. And so when someone comes to your website and they see, okay, here's her beautiful photos, here's her pricing that's in my price range, here's the products that she offers, those all sound great. But then they're looking at the next website who also has beautiful photos, is about the same price point, and also offers the same products. Now you have to worry about, okay, well, what's going to make me stand out compared to that other photographer? So from that point, it becomes no longer about the resume, even though your resume needs to be strong, needs to be good. And now it becomes about the interview portion. And this is where, kind of going back to what we talked about already, is that know, like, and trust. It's that getting your face out there. It's making the connections with people. It is being involved in your community. I think the biggest thing, though, is those connections. I mean, I know I keep coming back to this, but I really do think that we're at a point in our society where people are craving that personal connection, and they want to know. I think too many people have been burned by people on the internet by hiring a company that looked great on paper, but wasn't so great in person. Mm-hmm. And so being able to say, hey, I look great on paper. My resume is a fabulous resume, but now I'm going to kill it in the interview portion. Like, that's what's going to get you the job. And so again, it's about, I know you're not going to like to hear this, but it's about putting your face out there. It's letting people know who you are. And even if this means on social media, posting more pictures of yourself and talking more about your personal life, if it means, sharing Instagram stories that have behind the scenes of like you and your family or things that you're doing, and behind the scenes of sessions that you're shooting, which is so hard to remember how to do, but I'm trying to be better too about like getting some of those behind the scenes when I'm at a session. Things like that, I feel like will set you apart, because there's a lot of photographers out there who are just putting up really pretty photos, and they're not putting captions that are captivating or that are keeping people interested. They're just putting little quotes, or they're saying, this was a beautiful session. They're not sharing who they are. They're not sharing the why behind what they do. And I think those things are going to be what make people connect with you, because you want them to connect with who you are as a person. And that means that who you are as a mom, who you are as a wife, who you are as a friend, who you are in your community. And so finding ways to make those connections both online and in person, I think is going to be the biggest thing, because there's a lot of people not doing that right now.
Mm-hmm. And I have started doing that a lot more, because I had, heard that a couple times recently from some great, other podcasters I listen to too. And Jenna Kutcher, I know that you're a fan of her too. Yep. And so I have started slowly, but I think consistency is kind of more my problem there. And feeling like I need a good image to go with it and all that stuff. And so, I haven't had pictures of me taken in a long time, and I know I need to. And then not feeling like I can post pictures of my son on my public, Instagram. And so being careful there, but I have gotten more creative with that. And definitely more thoughtful about my captions. Because it's absolutely true. The ones that are most liked are the ones that are personal, the one that evoke emotion. And so, those are the ones that I like to read and I like to look at myself. And other people post them. And so I am trying to get more personal and let people in. And I know for sure on my Facebook, those parents, they see that, and, they know those parts of me too. So I think that's one thing that I have gotten better at. Is letting them see who I am. And also changing my my bio on my website, my About Me. I changed it to be way more personal instead of just, hey, I'm a photographer, love to take pictures, blah, 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 like, duh. Yep. And so I made that more personal, even sharing that I have anxiety, which I do about all the things, especially business. And so I even put that in there thinking, hey, teenagers are anxious. They're so anxious. And so maybe that's a way that they'll connect with me. And so trying to do those personal touches more and more, but it is hard to feel like, man, every other photographer is, just like me, but that's not true.
No, and I think it's easy to forget sometimes too that yes, this is a business, but it's your business and you are what sets you apart because nobody else can do things exactly the way that you can. And nobody else has the same perspective that you have. And I think that, like you mentioned, the anxiety thing, I think that's a great point to talk about. Now, it doesn't mean to talk about it all in every post, but every other week or something like that, or every week, just do something that's a post about, hey, here are the things that I do to help, combat my anxiety, or hey, today's been a rough day and maybe you can relate. What do you do to help when you have rough days? Or starting a conversation like that, I think is going to really make people feel like that they have something in common with you. Because I know for me personally, and I've done a lot of this, I go and I look at my social media and I pay attention to which posts do I stop and actually read, and why am I stopping and reading that post? Is it because the photo was really pretty? Sometimes. Is it because that person is someone I know that I connect with and have something in common with? That's probably 75% of it. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is what they're putting out there is really interesting. Like I want to read it. And so, especially on Instagram, because Instagram is so image heavy, that having a great photo is just one tiny piece of it. You also have to have the content to go with it. And in addition to that, it doesn't always have to be personal. So with you focusing on seniors, I think one of the things that could really set you apart is to become a resource for your senior clients. So instead of just posting about, hey, senior sessions, book your senior session, here was a great senior session. Like instead of just doing that, try to come up with really good content that's going to help them, they're going to want to read, whether it's here's the latest, prom trends for dresses when it comes time for prom, or hey, here's 5 ways you can, help create a really great college application, or here's resources for financial aid for planning for your college, things like that. Or here's a really great bucket list of things you should do your senior year so it doesn't go by and you realize you've missed out on opportunities or whatever. So whatever it is, that's going to relate to them. And that's where I think having that network for you of having some parents and some seniors that you can go and ask these questions to, ask the moms like, hey, what are you most anxious about in this next year? Like, what are some things that you are hoping to get out of this year? What do you want to make sure you don't miss out on? And use those to create content, whether it's a post or a blog post that you share on social media. If you become somebody that these people want to, when they see your name scroll by on their feed, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I always love what she has to say. Let me stop and read what she has to say. You want to become that person. And just posting a pretty picture and a short little caption with a quote isn't going to make people want to come back to your page every time. But figuring out what their pain points are, what are the things that they're most nervous about, what are the things they're most excited about, what are the things that they want to make sure they don't miss out on, both for the parents and the seniors, and addressing those, then you're not only going to become the go-to person for senior photos, but you're going to become the go-to person that these people want to look at and go, oh my gosh, she gets it. Like she gets what I'm going through, whatever it may be, whether it's the mom who's about to lose her oldest child to college, or whether it's the kid who's like, I want to make the most of my senior year. I want to have the most fun. I want to enjoy every moment, that kind of thing. And so that's another way you can like make sure that your name is synonymous with the expert in that area.
Okay. And see, that's such a confidence thing for me too, is like feeling like I have to be at a certain level to feel like I have any sort of expertise, or, that it's imposter syndrome. And I feel like we all struggle with it or did struggle with it at some point. And I am battling straight through that right now, even though I don't feel like I should have to. I feel like my work is good, but I still, like, I look at other photographers in the area who are just killing it. And I'm thinking like, man, like it's going to be forever until, that's me. And so I do struggle with the confidence, the anxiety. of believing that what I have is enough.
So when you say confidence, you mean in your photography or just in like?
Sometimes in my photography. I think since switching just to mainly seniors, I'm way more confident now. And once, since I dropped the other stuff that I just did not enjoy doing, and that showed in my work. But I think more so with just being a businesswoman, because when I started photography, I didn't realize how difficult business is.
Right. So I think a lot of people are there with you.
Yes, it's such a rude awakening because you're like, okay, the advertising and the just the legal stuff, all that stuff, and wondering, am I doing this right? Do I have all my ducks in a row? Am I doing this out of order? Am I dropping the ball somewhere? Because there's so many plates to spin with a business, and especially if you're all by yourself, it feels like I must be doing something wrong somewhere, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
And so I'm battling through the anxiety of that too.
Well, I think that's not uncommon, even at every level. And you mentioned Jenna Kutcher, we both are fans of hers. And she's even said in her podcast before, the imposter syndrome doesn't necessarily go away the further along you go. You always feel like that you are lacking, or you're not, or you're just pretending, and somebody's going to figure out pretty quickly that you don't know what you're doing. But at the same time, you're further along than somebody else behind you. You've put in the work. You obviously are an expert in what you do because it's what you do. I mean, you've done this. It's not like you've just picked up your camera for the first time yesterday and are claiming to be a professional photographer. You've done this. You've done sessions. Your work is great. I've seen it. It's beautiful. So it's that now it becomes a matter of you putting in the work within yourself to realize that. And unfortunately, it's not something that goes away. It's something that you have to work on consistently, because everybody struggles with it. There are days I wake up and I go, who am I? Who am I to be doing all this? But obviously there's a reason you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're good at it. So you just have to remind yourself of that. And I think the more involved you get in your business, the more confident you'll feel. Mm-hmm. You're kind of restarting, you're relaunching. And so you're coming back into it almost new again.
Mm-hmm. And feeling those old feelings that I did,
Yeah. And so I think once you are in it a little bit more and you get this launch behind you and you can really get into it, because right now you're kind of in that waiting phase of you're waiting for everything to kind of fall into place so that you can start off brand new again. And I think in 2 or 3 months from now, you're going to get into your swing of things, and you're going to get into a groove, and you're going to be like, I got this, I can do this. And so it just comes with time, but it'll come. Don't worry.
And I definitely look forward to that day.
Don't we all?
So the next bigger thing I wanted to hit on is just client experience, kind of just start to finish, the most important things. And then, well, let's talk about that for a second. Okay. I feel like I lack there a little bit in consistency from client to client.
Okay.
So when you think about client experience and how you deal with your own clients, what are the most important things to you in that arena?
Okay. So my first question would be, do you have a client management program that you use?
No, because I'm waiting for the sale to come around on the one I want. Okay. Which I know is probably terrible.
No. As long as you have something you can eventually, that's been the biggest.
I'm about to I'm waiting, and I will pull the trigger on it the second, because they do this every year.
Yeah.
And so it's you get a whole year free or something, but so that is coming, and I know that is a pretty big deal to make things easier.
Yeah. So the reason that helps is because, so for me, I use HoneyBook, and what makes it easier, and of course there's other ones out there, there's tons, but when I started using HoneyBook to keep track of all my clients, and every inquiry that came in came through that program because the contact page on my website was linked to my HoneyBook account. So every time someone goes to my website and sends me an email, it goes through HoneyBook. And the nice thing about that is that it already creates a profile for each client. And then I can easily, like really quickly, send them templated emails. So like right now, are you using like Gmail or something for your email?
I'm using my domain host. They do their email, but I mean, that's about to change too. So,
Right.
but yeah.
Well, so when I was, because before I was doing the same thing. So before I started using Honey, I mean, I still use that email account, but I was getting all of my emails were getting sent directly to my inbox. And so then I would have to open my email and then I would have to type out a response every time, or I might have a copy and paste somewhere on my computer, but I have to go to my laptop and get it and like kind of customize it. Well, now the first step for me when it comes to client experience is letting them know that you are readily available. Now, that doesn't mean that if they email you at 9:00 at night, you need to respond right away. But it does mean that I think it helps to have some kind of system in place so that if they email you at 9 a.m, you can respond pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Because I think when someone is searching for a photographer or any business in general, I know for me, like I recently have been emailing a couple different companies about like pool services. And so if I email you, and this is what always surprises me every time, if I send out an email and I don't hear anything back from you, and then 3 weeks from now I get an email and I'm like, no, I'm not hiring you because you took 3 weeks to respond to my inquiry. Like it just blows my mind. And so I think being relatively quick in your response is helpful. So having some kind of system in place. And then a great thing about having like a client management software is that you can create templates. So like for mine, I have templates set up for every type of session that comes through. So if a bride emails me about her wedding, I can very quickly go to templates, bride welcome email. It automatically throws in like links to all of my stuff I want to send to them, and it customizes it with that person's name. And then let's say the bride sends me her inquiry and it's like, hey, we're getting married at the Milestone Mansion on such and such date. Then it pulls up the template email, but then I can go in and add a little blurb at the beginning about like, hey, oh my gosh, the Milestone is such a beautiful venue and an October wedding is going to be gorgeous. And so I can add those little touches of personalization, but then everything else is already ready to go. I don't have to touch it. It takes 2 seconds. So like with me, I get a notification on my phone. Hey, Susie Jones has sent you an inquiry. I can open it up on my app. I can respond and in 2 minutes, I've sent that custom response. And they feel like it's personalized to them because it has their name on it. I've added 1 or 2 sentences to personalize it to them. And then that just starts the process of that client experience. That starts with them seeing you as someone who is prompt to reply, someone who is paying attention to the details that they said. So in your case, if someone sends you an inquiry and they mention the high school they go to, or a location they want to shoot at, or something like, hey, I want to include my volleyball jersey, like you can respond with something that's personal to them. Mm-hmm. And so that sets you apart right there with letting them know, hey, I'm going to pay attention to what you want. This is not going to be a cookie cutter session where you show up, I take some pictures and you move on your way. Like I'm going to make this be about you. And most people will book a session at least a month or 2 in advance, ideally. And mm-hmm. So the other great thing about those systems is that you send the inquiry, you send the initial email. Let's say they book with you, you've gone back and forth, you book, you send them all their questionnaire. I think questionnaires are great because again, it shows that you want them to have a say in what their session's about. You send the contract, all that kind of stuff. It's all through that program so that everything's in one place. And then when it comes time to, let me back up. So they've booked with you. Let's say their session's in 2 months. between the time they book and that their session date, send them 1 or 2 emails just saying, hey, your session's coming up in a couple weeks. I'm super excited about it. I've been checking out the location. It's going to be amazing. I found this really cool little spot. I can't wait to show it to you. Or, hey, if you need help with choosing outfits, let me know. And just making sure that they understand every single step of the process. Because again, you put yourself in their shoes. This is something that they've never done before, most likely. They've never had senior pictures done before because this is the first time as a senior. And for a lot of the parents, they don't know what to expect either. And so you have to kind of handhold them, and even down to the very little details that feel like they should be common sense. But like, for example, if you're meeting at a certain spot, let's say you're going to some like downtown area, let them know like, hey, here are some of the places you can park. Here's what to expect when you get there. Here's like how to get from that parking area to where we meet. Or, hey, you're welcome to bring extra outfits. Just know that we'll pop into this little coffee shop to change outfits or whatever. Like letting them know every little detail about what to expect will help them feel super comfortable. It'll make them feel like that you're really looking out for them and what they're wanting, as opposed to someone who's like, hey, you've booked your session. I'll see you in 2 months. Show up downtown and we'll find each other. Like as someone who has anxiety, that would make you super nervous.
Right. So I actually, for all my clients forever, I've met with them in person to do like
a
consultation, just because I feel better about that.
Yeah.
And we go over the contract in person just because I feel like it helps provide clarity, and like we meet each other beforehand and everyone feels more comfortable. I mean, it's like slightly inconvenient having to plan that and, make sure that hubby's home to take care of the kiddo and like, get schedules lined up. But I feel like that's been helpful for me, and I hope to continue to do that for as long as it works out. But I know that's created a little more ease for me in managing expectations and just making them feel comfortable. So
yeah, no, I think that's awesome.
I don't know how down the road, like if I get super, super busy, how convenient that'll be. But so far that's worked out.
Busy, then you raise your prices.
Right. And then I go back to less clients, more personalized.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think the in-person thing is awesome. I think that definitely, and for them too, it's going to make them feel a lot more comfortable. The first time you're meeting them in person is not going to be when you walk up to do their session. I think that's a really great.
Right. Like they know what I look like. They know what to expect. They know my personality. I think that was kind of a big deal. And I know theirs. Yes. And that helps with my anxiety, is knowing the type of personalities that I'll be working with. And so,
yes. And then you can tell like how the parent's going to be. Are they going to be someone that's like hovering over the entire time? Or are they going to be a little more laid back, Right. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. So then going forward from that, so you do your in-person consultation, go over all that. That's amazing. And then you do your shoot. And then I would say from there, now, do you do just digitals? Like, what are you offering them?
Right now, yes, just digitals. They choose 25, or they can purchase more after that, or the entire album for extra. Okay. And so that's where I'm at right now. Eventually I'll get to changing that, but right now that's the situation. And I'm struggling there a little bit. So you can help me with presenting images. So like right now they're emailed the gallery and they open it and they can view and mark their favorites and all that stuff. But then trying to upsell the rest of the album, I think I really need some help of how to do that effectively, especially because we're not in person.
Right. Are you at all interested in doing it in person, or do you not want to do that yet?
I'm interested. I've never considered doing that with digitals.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just haven't. And so to me, like I hear IPS and I think of albums and canvases and all that. And so now I'm not offering that. Eventually I would like to, but so help me out with the upselling more digitals.
So I'll approach it in 2 ways. So one, we'll talk about just how you do it now, where you send them the gallery and then they, kind of look through them. So I would say the first step would be to make sure when you send them that gallery, and who do you send, what's your gallery through? Is it ShootProof? Pass. Okay. So when you send them that link, is it, because I've done mine through ShootProof, and I used Pass years ago, and it's changed since then. So does it actually send them like a real pretty kind of email template, or do you just email them a link to it?
It comes in a pretty template with so I pick like the cover image, and like there's a little note with it that I can write. And so it's presented well. Okay.
So I would just make sure in that little note, the little email that goes with it, to lay out all of the things you expect. So these are your photos. Thank you so much for choosing me as your photographer. I had a great time, blah, blah, blah. And then explain to them, you'll choose your 20, 25 favorites, those. And if you choose more than those, it's whatever cost or however you structure that. And then I would just say maybe even having it be a certain time frame. Like, do you give them, like, you have a week, 5 days or whatever, open-ended?
14 days to make selections of favorites.
Okay. I would maybe shorten that a little bit.
Okay.
Just because 14 days, it's really easy for people to forget. I mean, everybody's super busy. And I know there's been times when like I've had things where like, oh, you have 14 days. I'm thinking, oh, well, I've got plenty of time. And then next thing I know, 3 weeks have gone by and I'm like, well, crap, I'm out of my 14-day period, clearly. So I would maybe say you have 7 days. And then at the end, maybe like 5 days in, if they haven't placed or if they haven't chosen their favorites, then another email or a phone call. I don't know how comfortable you are on the phone, but if you can't do in person or you don't have the time and I know that's with seniors too, they're always so busy and they've got activities going on as well. It's hard for them to meet sometimes as well. So just doing like, hey, give them a quick phone call. Hey, I noticed you haven't picked your favorites from your gallery. Is there, any questions you have? Are there any, are you waiting for someone else to help you pick them? And then sometimes they just need that little reminder, that little push. And I know a lot of people will do IPS sessions over the phone completely. So not even meeting in person, they'll send in the gallery. They'll say, hey, let's schedule a time to talk on the phone. They both set aside a time where they can sit down in front of their computer and they can go through the galleries together. And then that way they can help them kind of choose. Because I know like when I do my ordering sessions, a lot of times the struggle is, well, there's these 3 photos that I really like, and they're all kind of similar because they were in the same outfit or same area, whatever. And maybe one they're looking at the camera and one they're looking away and one they're laughing. And they can't make a decision between the 3. And having someone there that can kind of objectively walk them through like, oh, well, I really love this one because it shows more of your natural personality, or oh, this one's really nice because the light coming through the trees was so pretty, or however you want to, whatever it is about those photos. I think a lot of times it's just having that expert, which is you, there to kind of guide them. So even doing those on a phone conversation, I think might help. And would also add that little personal touch. As far as the upsells go, how many are you putting in the gallery total?
It varies, but about 50 to 60.
Okay.
And they're all edited.
Okay.
And so which is a lot of work, but I'm hoping, they're seeing this entire edited gallery. They want it all.
Yeah. Well, and I think the disconnect there a little bit too is that they're thinking, well, if I get 25, you said 25, right?
Yes.
Okay. If they get 25, let's say that there's 50 in the gallery, they're getting half of the gallery anyway. They may only really like half of them because seniors are really picky and the moms don't always like the same thing that the kids like. I do with my senior sessions, I do in person, and I have printed versions because I'm a tactile person, whatever that is. I like to touch things. And so I like to have the physical prints for them to like pile out. And 90% of the time when they go through, I tell them make 3 piles, the ones you love, the ones that you kind of like, but you're not sure about, and the ones you don't like. And that way we can at least eliminate those. And then we can focus on the ones you have. Mm-hmm. And I would say if I have 50 images, 20 go in that pile that they don't like, because there's something about the photo they don't feel that they love. Senior girls especially are so picky about their appearance and how they look. And is this something I would share online? And then 2, if you have, like I mentioned before, the 3 photos that are really similar, they're going to think, well, I don't need all 3 because they're all really similar. So I'll pick one and eliminate two others.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I would say either lower the number of digitals that they get with their package.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way they have a reason to want to upgrade. Or you could say, per digital price. Or you could say, if you upgrade to 10 more images, it's this much, or however you want to word that. But I don't know. I feel like with the digitals, it's hard to upsell when you're not in person or not speaking to them, because in their mind, they're thinking it's easy for me to remove something and get down to that 25. Because if they're at 30, which 30 out of 50 is a pretty good amount for people to really like and want to purchase, removing 5 more is not going to be that difficult for them, I don't think, because they're still getting a lot. 25 is a lot.
Yeah, 25 is a lot. And so I hadn't really thought that hard about that, of how many they're getting. I think the reason I was giving them that many is because of the steps I've been taking. And so originally it was like lower price, whole gallery. You're getting 1 million images. Yep. And then I upped the price and they're still getting the whole gallery, 1 million images. And then finally I was like, okay, up it a little more, now 25. And so I think I am at that place of being able to either drop that number a little bit at the same price, or increase my pricing, because that is a lot, especially now after I've, booked my own photographers for stuff and just, seeing what different photographers are pricing at. Most of them are not giving that many in like a package, unless it's, a lot more expensive. And so I think I am probably at that point of needing to reevaluate pricing and what all is included. So it's a good note for me to take away, for sure.
Yeah, I think that'll help. I think if you lower the amount that they're getting as a given, you'll start to see people increasing what they purchase. Another thing you can
they value those ones they like a lot more, because I have to really love the ones I'm picking, and then they won't be able to.
Yeah.
Which, and I get that. That's me too. Every time I'm like, okay, I really do want all of these. And I can only get 10. How am I supposed to only have 10? So I totally get that feeling. So,
and that's the feeling you want to create with your clients. You want them to want more.
Right.
So don't give away the farm. So make it a little more difficult for them to choose. And then you'll start seeing some additional purchases. And then what I would do too is I would say, let's say you give them the week, and on day 6, they have picked their favorites. And can you kind of watch it? Like,
I can see what they favorited.
Yeah.
So I can see if they have like 30 favorited and they're still trying to figure it out. So I actually can kind of watch.
Yeah. So I would watch that. And what I would do is, if, let's say you get it down to, they get 15 digitals, and let's say you go into, their gallery, and you see that on day 3 of them having their gallery, there are 25 in their favorite list, and send them an email and just say, hey, I just happened to be looking through the gallery and noticed you'd favorited 25 images. I know it can be really hard to narrow those down to the 15 that are included. If you would like to purchase the additional 10 that you have in your favorites list, I'll offer you this discount, like 10% off or whatever, depending on your pricing. Or for every 5, you get an extra free digital or something like that, so some kind of incentive. So just kind of keep an eye on what they're favoriting. And that way you can follow up and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I know it can be really hard to narrow it down. Here's a little incentive to buy more. And the same thing, like maybe after they narrowed it down, then go back with a follow-up email, even after you send them the 15 or however many you decide to give them, the 25 right now, go back at another email and just say, hey, just want to say thank you so much again for choosing me as your photographer, blah, blah, blah. By the way, if there are any additional images that you want, just know that you can purchase more than what came with your collection. I know all these pictures were so incredibly gorgeous. I know you're probably going to want more. If you have, even say this, like if you have family that you want to look at the gallery and see if they have any they would like to purchase, feel free to send it to grandparents or however you want to do that. But I think just kind of those follow-up reminders, continuing that conversation, since you're not doing it with them in person, and letting them know hey, just so you know, don't forget, you can still do this. Because again, a lot of people they get busy and they forget. And you may have said it to them at the session and you may have put it in the email, but that doesn't mean they're going to remember that they can buy more than what they're supposed to have.
Okay.
And then eventually, if you get to where you want to offer other things, I would definitely suggest, if you feel like it fits with your business model, the in-person sales. I think it's just kind of going back to what we talked about before with the setting yourself apart and the marketing aspect. The more you can do face-to-face, especially if you're already starting off your sessions with that in-person touch of the consultations, wrapping it all up at the end with an in-person kind of putting a bow on it all and saying, here's what you're buying. I think that would really bring your whole client experience together into one sort of complete package.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something I'm definitely considering, is moving that direction. And again, it's another thing that terrifies me.
But the things that terrify us, like those are the things that make us great. Like those moments when you're afraid, that's when you find like greatness in your business.
Right. I mean, I look back about all the other things I was afraid of that I pushed through and I accomplished them. And I'm like, wow, look where I am now, opposed to, where I was 5 years ago. And, so many big changes and things I had no idea how to do it out. So definitely know that I can get there, and it will be a step in the future. And so we may have to have another mentoring session just about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I hope I've given you a lot to work on. And
definitely, I've got 3 or 4 very specific things now that like my brain is running, this whole time we're talking of like, I need to go do this, I need to go do that. And so, yeah, definitely taking away very practical step I can start doing like tonight.
Yeah, well, good. Well, and I think I told you this when we met the first time. One of the things I always try to remind people is don't let it overwhelm you, because I know a lot of times I meet with mentoring clients and we go over so much stuff in one session that it's like overload. And so I'm a list person, and I like to kind of write things out as, okay, here are the things I need to do next steps on, and then focus on 1 or 2 at a time. Because if you're trying to jump into your launch and your rebrand, and you're trying to create a client experience, and you're trying to find a hair and makeup person, and you're trying to, get social media, like it's a lot to do. And so start with one thing. And then once you feel like you've kind of got that in a good spot, then move on to the next one. And that way you're not, if you're like me, I get a brain overload, and then that's when the anxiety sits in, and that's when I'm just like paralyzed and I can't do anything.
Absolutely. Same here. But that is something I'm getting better at, a little bit at a time. But mentoring has been helpful for me, and just feeling like I can do it and feeling like I have a little more direction now.
Yeah.
A few questions answered. So thank you.
You are so welcome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see your amazing new launch. It's going to be so fun.
No pressure, right?
No pressure. Now, just everybody listening to this podcast is going to want to go check out your new website and everything when it comes out. So
for real.
I will definitely. Well, and I'll link it. If you send me kind of your information, I will link it in the show notes so that people can find you. And
that would be great. Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Thanks so much, Summer. It was great chatting with you.
You too. Thanks, Kendra.
So I want to give a huge thank you, first of all, to Summer for allowing me to not only record our mentoring session, but share it with the entire world. So thank you so much for opening up, for having some really great questions, and for allowing me to share it with the Girl Means Business community. Secondly, I want to say thank you to everyone who hung out and listened to this extra long interview. It was a really special episode. I wanted to make sure we got all of the information in that Summer and I talked about, and all the things that I thought would be most beneficial to y'all as a listener. And one extra thing I want to mention before we go this week. If you liked this episode, if you liked being able to listen to how I help other women and other business owners build their business, then I've got something really exciting coming for you. It's called The Business Box. This is a really fun subscription service that I am working on that should be launching soon, that's going to basically be mentoring sessions with me each month, virtually. So if you want more information about how The Business Box is going to work and when it's going to go live, head over to girlmeansbusiness.com /business box. I will definitely link it in the show notes for you to go check it out and get on the waiting list to be notified as soon as it goes live. All right, guys, thanks again for tuning in for another fabulous week here at the Girl Means Business podcast. We cannot do this without you, so thank you so much for all of your support, all of your love, and all of your kind words in our reviews. If you haven't left us a review, please go do so right now. You can head over to iTunes, leave me a quick review, let me know what you thought of today's show, and of course, thank you again for tuning in. I hope you'll have a great week. We'll see you back here next week, same time, same place. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to click the subscribe button so you never miss when a new episode goes live. Then head over to iTunes and leave a quick review to let other people know just how much you loved it. Thanks, ladies. See you next week.